I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Peter, I know you've been looking forward to this, but I'm not going to be angry about the Avengers. I want to bring up, I really do want to stress the fact that I do not hate the Avengers. And I honestly don't hate Joss Whedon. I really enjoyed watching this movie, but that's it. Looking past the popcorn, this movie has serious glaring issues to me personally. The biggest issues do come from the script, and I feel it relegates everyone to the sidelines until they're needed, and typically it's so shortened that most characters could be interchangeable without any self-identity. Black Widow is shown to be afraid of Banner because she's a girl and he's a bubbling pot of male rage. I never honestly got that part, but I could have missed some subtext. But Loki's plan is completely stupid and really only worked because Tony Stark is just I I don't want to be angry. Okay? Nerd culture has gotten to the point where everyone needs to go, this is why this movie is wrong. I'm right, this is wrong. And I don't enjoy that. I mean, I enjoy saying it, but I don't want to be that kind of person. And honestly, I got into a huge argument with a lot of people last night and everything. And this is me turning around and going, fuck it. I'm not going to be the negative person. So, am I doing this? Well, I originally wasn't going to make this video, but I'm a writer. I know how to do this better. Roll the titles again. What do I mean by what I would have done to the Avengers? This is going to be my top 3 changes I would personally make to the Avengers. Why top 3? Because I've gotten complaints my videos are too damn long. Number 1. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that anyone who's read any Hawkeye comic books, be they solo or in the Avengers line of comics, is going to know what I'm talking about. And know why fucking Hawkeye is the name of this section. I've even heard people that really liked this film complain that Hawkeye got stiffed by Joss Whedon. Yes, for anyone who thinks I'm unfair to Joss Whedon about this film, I will bring him up a lot. Especially a lot more than Zach Penn, because Penn did help with the story, but it comes off more like they were drinking while Penn was trying to tell him this great movie idea, and Whedon was doodling on a cocktail napkin. Now, what I mean by fucking Hawkeye is how poorly the character was handled. I'll start with bringing up this interview with Hero Complex that Jeremy Renner had around the time the Avengers released. The link to the Screen Rant article will be below and somewhere on the screen, annotated with probably a Hawkeye head or bow and arrow or I'm with stupid or something like that. But basically, in the interview, Renner, he pretty much spells out that Renner and Penn were originally were going to discuss Captain America and possibly something along those lines, but then they got really wrapped up in the conversation about the character of Hawkeye. They discussed costuming ideas, stories from the book, and even how he would, how he would appear in Thor as a cameo and then become a core member of the Avengers and all that. So basically, Renner got talked into the role by his friend, and his friend sold the role hard. But then Whedon turned around and said, you know what? I got no ideas, man. I don't know why I made Joss Whedon sound like that. I think it's because I can't get as pretentious as he sounds. So anyways, Renner himself basically said that, and here's a little excerpt, at the end of the day, 90% of the movie, I'm not playing the character I was signed on to play. I'm literally in there for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden, and it continues, follow the link to see it, but there's really no good answer for why Whedon sidelined him. I mean, other than the fact that Joss Whedon wasn't the right writer for the project. I'm not saying that, I dislike him as a solo writer. I don't. I do not like him as a solo writer, but when you're hired to write about a 6-man team, you can't just have Goldberg sitting in the goal without cutting to him, seeing how he is. Yes, I just made a Mighty Ducks reference, but let's get past that. If the problem is that Whedon didn't know how to do a backstory for him or know how to handle the character, he really didn't do anything for the other 5 either, save for calling back to other people's writings. So, again, it's another strike against him, but enough bitching about what Whedon did to the character. Let me actually answer the question about how I would have done it better. For starters, there wouldn't the, for starters, there wasn't a need to make him a brain dead minion. Actually, why was Hawkeye the basic sniper and archer in a close quarters area like the Cosmic Cube Chamber? Yes, I'm not going to call it the Tesseract, it's the Cosmic Goddamn Cube. Yeah, he was on a catwalk, but, he's a sniper, he's an archer. He's even got his own costume, so clearly there are better things for him to be doing than just sitting on a catwalk watching Stellan Skarsgård play with a fucking Rubik's Cube. Glowing, though it may be. But okay. But I would have loved to see the character handled so much better. Like, when Black Widow is sent to go get Banner from Calcutta, showing Banner showing Banner being a doctor and all that, I would have loved to see, Bruce get pissed and become the Hulk. Then you get to show that Black Widow's only backup is Hawkeye instead of a 50-man squad. After a chase scene through the streets or however it be played, show Hawkeye dropping him with a tranquilizer arrow. See, now with that, you'd have a good understanding of who Hawkeye as a character is, who Black Widow is, and the basic crux of Banner get pissed, Hulk happen. Yeah, I know it's pretty much spelled out through the entire thing, but honestly, you never get to see the Beast, and considering the last couple times we've seen the Beast, it's not going to be as scary as Black Widow keeps making it. But it would also explain why Black Widow's afraid of, the Hulk instead of just going, oh man, I saw it on TV, and all the videos and everything. She'd have gotten to experience it firsthand, so that would terrify the hell out of her. And then you'd also get the bond between Hawkeye and Black Widow, more so than, her going, oh no, he's a zombie. Damn. I know it wasn't like that, but to be fair, her reaction, while good, was all within the actor, not within the writing. Or actress. I'm sorry, it's the 21st century. And hell, it'd actually be showing Banner being a bit more on edge about working with S.H.I.E.L.D. than just going, fuck it, I'll help, like in the actual movie. But what about for the rest of the film? If instead of being a zombie there, he'd be there. There's no reason why he couldn't be there. See, being an archer, he doesn't need to be in the thick of it. His lone wolf nature is kind of built into the character. I know Jeremy Renner's also talked about it. I don't believe it was in the same interview, but that he really does have a sniper mentality with the character, and it was how it was explained to him. But all that's flushed away. So, say he didn't become a zombie. He would have been the lone wolf. So, in that big argument scene that everyone had, you would have had this great scene, maybe, let me rephrase. Maybe instead of having that mediocre Hawkeye and Black Widow scene when he's coming out of the mind control thing in the whole Tony Scott editing style, you could have replaced that with a great scene about him feeling really bad about the fact he almost shot Banner in the head during the big argument scene, and feeling like he's just a pawn, that he's not an important member. You know, treating the character like he's a character, or like he's a real person. I know a lot of people who aren't writers don't get this. Characters are characters, they do not officially exist, but characters that are people, that are treated like people, are the characters that people like. If, but that's going to be a completely different argument some other day. But so back to Jeremy Renner, who's won what, like, oh, who's been nominated for 2 Oscars at this point, and he's just being relegated to just being the butt monkey. I've been wanting to write a solo Hawkeye movie since before writing was my career, and it's a shame to go see what they did to this character, especially when in Thor he had a decent, couple lines. Yeah, it was a Thor's second cameo, but it was a decent line. Marvel Studios, I know you're not listening, but I still have my treatment for the West Coast Avengers movie. Jeremy Renner, I know you'll never hear of this, but I've been a fan of yours since I first saw the broadcast of the Angel episode Somnambulism, or Somnambulist, or the one where Angel's sleepwalking and, we find out that he sired you. It wasn't a big role, but you knocked it out of the park for me, and I've been a Renner fanboy ever since. You're on my list of people my life would be complete for writing a character for. Nobody to laugh. Every writer has a form of that list, be it mental or physical. But number 2. Loki's plan is literally get the Tesseract, get captured, so he could influence the Hulk to be angry, so S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers would not be able to stop him from opening a portal from Stark Tower to summon the Chitauri, who are led by Thanos, though we don't find out that it's Thanos until one of the ending stingers, so we get to see the mouth of Sauron strong-arming Loki because they're waiting to invade. Why does this seem overly complicated? Because it is, in the simplest sense. Loki gets the Tesseract, the Cosmic Cube, in the first 5 minutes of the film. This is a 2.5-hour movie. The last 20 minutes is the actual invasion of the Ultimate Universe Skrull, the Chitauri. Although apparently they're not the same thing. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. The name of the Chitauri doesn't matter. The in-between, between when Loki gets the Tesseract and Loki uses the Tesseract, fuck all happens with the character. He gets captured, talks for half the movie, escapes, talks for half the movie, and he does fuck all. And I honestly think that this is because Tom Hiddleston had a contract, and the entire movie is the pinnacle of Tumblr writing. Tumblr writing is a term I use when a writer seems to be so self-aware of the meta around their project that they're writing for fan service less than actual plot. You actually see it a lot in Thor the Dark World. Although, at the same time, that seems to be they're playing it for laughs, not playing it to hit the cheap seats. But I'm not saying that I don't like Tom Hiddleston as Loki. But he doesn't do anything in this. Who invaded the helicarrier? Evil Hawkeye, who gets knocked out 30 seconds fighting Black Widow. What else happens? Infighting. A lot of people actually bring up the fact that, man, this movie is nothing but infighting. And it's true. And the only reason that Loki seems to be in this is so that they could have a manipulator to give a bullshit power to, so that the fighting makes air quote sense. But what would I? So I don't like Loki as the villain. What would I have done differently? This may sound like a dick answer, but the Chitauri are completely pointless in this with how Loki is written. Loki as the main villain, you have a revenge piece. He wants to fuck over the Earth because Thor was defending the Earth. And Loki blames the Earth for Thor coming to power and all that shit. I assume. It's not really spelled out, but first and foremost, the big stinger at the end of Thor showed Stellan Skarsgård, Eric Selvig, being possessed by Loki, asking about the Q, which really got me pumped for the Avengers because it meant that Loki would be able to manipulate without being physically injured. I mean, he's not a physical match for any Avenger. Black Widow could fucking kick his ass. But imagine if we got to see Stellan Skarsgård as the avatar for Loki, or even acting like a big bad god. We've seen him in so many other things, doing so many, with some great roles. But, you know, maybe having Loki control him to create a portal to get his body to Earth, or maybe have the Enchantress, yeah, you know, another comic character who wasn't introduced in a previous film, come up and cause the emotional breakdown of the team so that, you know, Selvig could free Loki's body. You know, give it an actual fucking reason. Instead of, well, I feel like trolling today. You are now angry, and you are now relegated to being my butt-wiping monkey. What would, like, she could have even, if they added the Enchantress, they would have had their emotional control, their empath, you know, and all that. Not to mention, she would have been able to summon, you know, fucking ice trolls. Bam, a character from the Thor movies we know. Maybe show the current Baron Zemo. I'm saying the current because there's been like 4 and only one of them was in World War II. Or something that, you know, ties it more together than, well, we've got Loki. And, like, basically just, it would make Loki still the manipulator, adding new characters that could be explored later in later movies. It would have made Thor Dark World a fuck ton better, and Thanos would not be a thing and Thanos would have been a not thing in the Avengers-centric film proper. Most likely he's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm pretty sure they're just going to use him for a third movie, and they're going to hold that cow over your head until it's, well, bones are brittle and milk is past running out and blood's run out, and I'm rambling. Okay. There's also this subplot I noticed when I was rewatching the Avengers to make my original angry list, and it's Tony Stark. Tony Stark is the reason Loki's plans work. He's the reason everyone gets paranoid in the original, you know, major scene where he turns around and goes, well, hey, we've been hacking into this to find their secrets. You know, he's the one who starts getting everyone paranoid and then at each other's throats. Then you have, you know, and we also have the fact that his self-sustaining tower is the fucking crux of Loki's plan, which I do find kind of odd because when he went up, I'm not sure how Loki knows about it, but still. Hell, if wouldn't it have been such a better movie if Loki was controlling Tony the entire time? And I'm not talking about his zombie horde. I'm talking about like the way he was controlling Stellan Skarsgård in Thor, where he has this hold, but it's not. It's just a suggestion and whispering in the ear. Out of everyone else, out of everyone in this film, that I think we could have seen less of, I think Tony would have made the fans go, "Oh shit, this is a real fucking issue." Plus, we would have gotten to see more Hawkeye. We would have gotten less Tony, which for me, his snark value diminishes the entire film. Not saying that he's a bad actor. I like RDJ, but we would have gotten, a better explanation for the PTSD because rewatching the film, there was no reason that Iron Man had to fucking go into the wormhole. I mean, yeah, you could turn around and go, well, he was trying to aim it, but it's a fucking nuke. Okay. So, what if I went about it a completely different way? I would have honestly taken the first half of this movie and turned it into the entire movie. Or, strike that, reverse it. I would have taken the entire movie, turned it into the first half, cutting out all the fat, and have actually brought the invasion to a bigger level. A lot of people are going to turn around and say, but it was a pretty big level. Actually, apparently it only lasted 3 blocks, only 500 people died, and considering it was a massive invasion, that was great. But what I would have done is the first half of this movie was building to something great. I don't know if Whedon, was thinking, man, I should totally bring Thanos in on this, in the first film, or if he honestly is just going, well, he'd make a good third villain, but screw it, or something like that. But taking, the first hour and a half, and giving it to Loki, and then had the boom of, Thanos' flagship coming in, and really introducing the character. Yeah, they could kick his ass back into space or something. Maybe use the Tesseract's teleporting abilities that they do showcase because the Tesseract can do fucking anything. To showcase. Boom. Okay, great. He's gone for now. Wonder when he'll be back. The reason I'd say replace, for the most part, in any fight scenario, replace Loki with Thanos. Loki is a non-threat to any Avengers. He gets ragdolled by Hulk, blasted by Iron Man, beat down by Captain America, exploded by Hawkeye, hammered by Thor, and Gatling gunned by Black Widow, unless we want to count her mind fucking him. But if they crammed Loki being manipulative into the first half, cut the fat, and when the Chitauri invasion happened, have Thanos be a thing, have him land a fucking flagship on the Empire State Building, really stick the symbolism in, because as we all know, the 9/11 symbolism in this movie and Man of Steel was just out there. But so anyways, he'd be able to screw over every character. He'd be able to make Cap question, or not really question, but he'd be the perfect foil for every character. Instead of fighting countless bad guys, to come together as a team, they'd have to come together as a team to fight this one dude who's completely screwing them over. Yes, I know that actually sounds a lot like the last 15 minutes of Justice League War. In hindsight, but this movie came out 2 years ago, and a lot of things have changed. So, I don't know, it's just, they don't seem like they should be a team at the end of this. I know the Coulson death was what made them become Avengers. But they came together as a team to fight off aliens. Because of quantity, not quality. Bullets hurt them. Black Widow shows that it's so easy to use the Chitauri weapons that there's no reason the military isn't in on this thing. It won't take that long to scramble. Especially New York fucking City. But think about how awesome it just would have been if there was an actual surprise in any of these movies. Instead of showing their heroes as always winning, maybe give them a bit of a hiccup with a powerful foe that can't be swatted away. Okay. Number 1. I know a lot of people aren't surprised about this. But like I said, I don't hate Joss Whedon. I'm saying that right now. Yes, I've challenged him to a filmmaker duel that he will never accept, but I don't hate him. When I say I would change Joss Whedon, my number 1 thing is that I would change Joss Whedon. I would have him co-write it with Zach Penn, or give him less than a blank check with the film. He squandered a lot of great actors just to make a mindless popcorn flick. I think my biggest problem with this entire film is actually the fans that just keep fapping to his work. Like it's the best thing since fapping became a thing. But that's why the petty side of me loves the fact that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got universally shat upon. I think that's harsh for those staff writers who work on it, and they will never get any credit. God, I miss being a staff writer. But so, what would I have changed even if Whedon was still given the project? Well, he needs a limiter, someone to ease him back from the edge when he's going, oh man, we gotta do this and this and this. You need to ease back. Someone to turn around and go, dude, that's a cool idea, but not for this project. Or let's put it later on. I'm not saying needing a limiter is a problem. I actually have the same problem when I write, and usually when I'm writing my own stuff, I bring in Zeke Celeste because he's my best friend and he knows, what to say to get me to not put in the three-titted cat lady. Or if you'd like a better example, in nerd culture, it's really comparable to Steve Moffat, who Universal has considered phenomenal and amazing for his partnership with Mark Gatiss. Gatiss? Someone will correct me later. On Sherlock. But when it turns around, you can easily pick Moffat apart creatively when you look at his show-running abilities on Doctor Who. Yeah, I know it's debatable, but the fact that you can compared to you should, it's completely different. Now, let me bring something up that no one actually ever understood whenever I got into the arguments in the forum or anything like that. He's the director, meaning that all the fakeness in this film is on him. I'm not saying that more sets should have been made or more practical effects on things needed to be done. It's not. I got past those issues long before the Avengers ever became a thing. The film, not the comics, obviously. Who cares about having a 200-foot solid gold orgy barge when we can CG it in for cheaper? My problem stems from the fact that Every shot in this film feels like it came from a different director. Like every other director's signature shot, like Tony Scott's editing feels really hard pressed in the Hawkeye Black Widow scene. The action feels stiff and lifeless. There's just a Scorsese Steadicam. Everyone's Steadicam now. But overall, it's a Michael Bay film with a superhero skin. It's like call it. It's like Gotham City Imposters. You know, it's your standard free-to-play shooter. Actually, it's not even free-to-play. It's your standard shooter. Just it's Team Fortress 2 with some Batman-related skins. Similarly, this is just a Michael Bay film with superheroes in it. But like Whedon is the Arm& Hammer baking soda in the fridge that of pop culture. You know, oh man, this is cool. Let me squander that. But who cares if he doesn't have original ideas? He makes a Galaga reference. Ha! It's like he went to TV tropes and looked up how to do this shit. He's so meta, even Phalus would tell him to stop. But you know what? And that's it. I didn't cover even remotely nearly as much as I wanted to, and believe me, I wrote this magnum opus really bringing up every fault that I had with Avengers. There's no point. Frankly, it's part of the exclusive feel nerds want that really irk me more than it should. So I put aside my personal beef with the film to come up with a way, uh, constructive criticism, if you will. But then again, I may have gotten a bit angry at the end, so sorry. I'm the Archivist, and I'm going to fucking bed.